She waited for years in the dark, an FAI sci-fi tale she. Waited for years in the dark, till the human warrior appeared in the silent belt between cold moons. A station drifts like a lost seed. It is a labyrinth of empty halls and quiet air. Vents behind sealed doors, an alien sisterhood waits and watches, skin like dusklight, eyes like riverstone. Hair braided with copper threads, they were once guardians of a star map that could heal. Broken skies now, they hide and listen for the scrape of raider craft that circle like lean Wolvus Megan walks the same corridor every day, counting the ridges in the wall. With slow fingers her people call her the listener, for she wakes first to the tremor of engines and the sigh of metal. Years pass, and her steps draw a soft path that only she can see her sisters. Trust her patience, and her patience grows long and thin like a shadow at sunset. Claire is human and a warrior by oath, yet she is not heart of heart. She pilots a small ship across dark lanes that few dare to cross. The ship is old but strong, the hull scarred by plasma burns, the controls patched by the hands of friends. She follows a distress echo that loops through static like a faint heartbeat. She thinks of the day a home fleet pulled away from a burning colony and left families to ash. She swore she would not look away again. Megan feels a new rhythm hum through the floor and knows it is not the raiders. Raiders come like drums, all rage and roar, while this hum is a steady breath. She whispers to her sisters in their round sleeping room, where lanternfish drift inside glass bowls. Zoe lifts her head from a blanket of woven reeds and nods. Nora sets her tools in a tidy line, ready to mend or break as needed. Ivy listens to the pipes and smiles, for she hears the calm shape of a human engine. Claire burns down from the blackened locks to a rusted dock claw. Air floods the lock with a long sigh, as if the station itself is relieved. She steps inside alone. A rifle across her chest, a blade on her hip, a woven charm on her wrist from a child she once saved. She speaks into the hollow light of the corridor and asks for parley, but no voice answers. She does not know that Megan watches from a slit in the ceiling with careful eye. Raiders arrive, as dust storms do, without mercy. 3 ships grin with the flame of their engines and cast chains toward the station. Their captain loves the feeling of a trapped prey and sends a message full of sharp promises. Inside, the sisterhood gathers in a green room where old plants still curl toward weak lamps. Megan counts breaths and hears the rhythm of fate move toward a hard chord. Claire moves with the grace of someone who has failed before and now refuses to fail again. She maps the halls from a flicker of static, and from marks scratched into the bulkheads by long-gone hands she finds the power spine and feels it pulse like a sleeping animal. Then she hears footsteps behind and turns with blade ready, but it is Megan who steps out from shadow, hands open, eyes bright with fear and hope. Bothmagon speaks in simple words, for she has learned many tongues by listening to raiders brag through vents. She tells Claire of the map that can stitch rifts in space and bring safe tides to broken orbits. She tells her of sisters who hide and of the captain who eats light from worlds like a feast. Claire listens, and the charm on her wrist warms, as if remembering the promise she made. It is a small warmth, yet it fills an empty room inside her. The plan, without a table and without long debate time, is a thin rope, and they must cross before it snaps. Claire will lure the raiders into the old shield ring. Megan will guide the station heart through a spiral that can bend the ring into a trap. Nora will wake the sleeping drones with names like Lullaby and Ember, and swift Zoe will tie the coolant veins into a loop that sings a cold song through hungry engines. Ivy will watch the vents and send whispers where needed. Claire moves toward the dock as the first boarding claw bites the hull. Her voice spills into open channels like a calm river. She speaks of credits and salvage and a glitter prize, but only if the raiders meet her in the ring. The captain laughs and says he will take all and leave bones for the solar wind. Claire does not answer, for she knows a bully grows weaker when no echo returns. Megan leads sisters through the maintenance ribs, where the station shows bone and light. Her fingers trace the script of old builders carved in a language that moves like tide and wind. She asks the heart to wake, and the heart answers in pulses that roll like soft thunder. Nora opens a panel and breathes on a relay as If it is a sleeping bird, it flickers and she grins, and the room seems to grin with hearth raiders. Split into two teams to show craft and cunning, yet greed pulls at them and they drift out of sync. One team slides toward the ring, following the bait of Claire's calm voice. The other hovers by the life support stacks and prepares to cut out the lungs of the station. Ivy sees them in a small mirror left by a child long ago and sends a whisper to Claire. Claire changes pace without a map for. Her maps live inside her steps and breaths. She leaves a trail of open doors and tiny lights that blink like breadcrumbs. She wants the worst of the raiders to chase, and they do. She crosses the ring where glass panels look out on a slow moon that is half ice, half dust. She thinks of the colony again and lifts the rifle, and her hands do not shake. Megan stands at a console older than any story. She knows its keys are made of gem glass, worn smooth by time. She cannot use dots or fancy code only. The soft language of the builders, she sings a pattern in a voice low and even, and the console wakes like a cat and stretches its shows. A shape of the ring and of three ships like cold sparks around it. Zoe and Nora crawl under the coolant loops. With lines of cable around their waists, their work is dirty and wet and full of grit, yet they smile. They speak of small joys like hot tea and clean blankets in the way. Ivy snores. Their words keep fear from rising to high in the throat. When they finish, the loop hums, and the floor grows cold, as if winter just walked into the ring. With boots that thud, to teeth that flash, they fire at shadows and laugh at their own noise. Claire is above them between beams and cables. A ghost with a steady pulse, she drops smoke that tastes like iron and sorrow, and the raiders cough and curse when they fire wild the beams. Ring like bells, and the ring listens. Megan presses the last key in the pattern, and the shield ring wakes. Thin arcs slide from spoke to spoke like threads of dawn. They weave a net that is not seen by the eye. Bless you look with faith or with instruments. Claire sees it with faith, for she believes in what a small group can build when they choose to. Stand, she kicks free from her perch and lands in front of the captain as the net begins to tighten. Captain grins and lifts a blade, but his grin fades when the floor tilts. Zoe pulls a lever, and the coolant song surges into the raider engines. And they gasp and stall. Nora whispers to the drones, and they fly out like small bright birds and bite at the claws. Ivy opens vents to spill fog so thick that raiders lose each other and shout into empty mist. Megan turns the ring by tiny degrees, and the net wraps around ships that thought they were Wolvus. Claire stands in the middle of the ring with the captain dancing around her like a cruel wind. She moves with spare steps and calm breath, and her blade speaks only when needed. When the captain lunges, she shifts, and he hits a beam and drops to a knee. She could cut him down and end him, but she chooses a different strike. She cuts the cord on his suit that feeds the pride in his voice, and his words fall flat like stones outside. The glass raider ship tries to burn away, but the net holds, and the engines choke on winter inside the fog. Clears in thin sheets and shows sisters at work hands. Swift eyes bright, Claire offers the captain a choice. Leave your chains and go. Or stay in sync. He tries to speak like a king, but no throne answers him now. He drops his weapon, and the ring takes it in a quiet gulp. Megan feels the station relax. The way a body does after a long illness. The heart beats steady, and the air smells clean and thin, like new snow. Zoe laughs and leans against Nora, and Ivy claps once, and then again. The drones return to their nests like tired birds, and fold their wings for a moment. There is no war cry, and no grief, only breath and soft light. Claire asks for the map, not with demand, but with a promise made plain. She will carry it where it can mend torn lanes and make safe tides for strangers. She will not sell it for planets or for crowns. She will guard it until she can pass it to Hans's. True as hers, Megan studies her and sees no lie, so she nods and calls her sisters to the green room there. They bring out a small sphere wrapped in cloth as old as the station waltzed. Sphere opens as a flower might and shows paths like rivers. Among stars, each river glows with a note, and together they make a song that sounds like home, even to those far from home. Megan tells the story of how their mothers drew these lines while storms raged outside. She says, the map does not only show safe paths, it makes them. When carried by one who keeps faith, Claire bows her head, and the charm on her wrist shines as if smiling. Raiders are sent away with empty hands, and a hard lesson they are made to leave their captain and their brands. And they drift into the dark with only small lights to guide them. Claire does not watch them long, for she has no joy in the sight of broken pride. She turns back to the sisters and offers places on her ship. Nora wants to see a son again, and Zoe wants to hear a market song, and Ivy wants to taste rain in an open field. Megan wants something else. Promise kept, and a night that is not full of waiting thee. Pack what they can into soft bags, and kiss the door frames as they leave the statio.